Hi, I'm Solar. You ever wonder how to make a world feel original and creative and fantastic? Well, there's been an idea going around inside my mind for a couple of days now, and it's finally sort of gained shape, and I'd like to present it to you guys. So, how do you usually make a world more original? How do you make a world at all? You start by making the lands, making the people, making the NPCs. You think of some cool things here and there, but you don't really do much specifically with magic. The way magic influences the world usually is in two ways. A, people cast spells, and those spells are predetermined, they have a description and all. Or B, a GM decides on how he wants to have something happen, and that something happens by being influenced by magic. Neither of those ways really changes the world. You know what I mean? I mean, it changes the story. It influences the society. But even if it influences the world directly, at most, it's just destroying or moving things. It doesn't really change the world. Now, let me explain that. How do you change the world with magic? Well, let me go a step back again, and I apologize for this, but it will make sense eventually, and it will be awesome when you get the idea. So here's the thing. Usually when you make a world, you have these preconceptions subconsciously. You still look at physics the same way as you would in real life, especially if you're trying to make a world realistic and low magic and low fantasy. You try to keep it down. And even if it's not low fantasy, you still try to keep it kind of realistic, relatable. You know what I mean? You have gravity, you have electricity, you have your weather, you have your decay, oxygen, entropy, all that stuff. Even it being most likely not a fully explored world, it's probably a planet, it's probably around, and you know there are stars. You know those stars are giant balls of fire, and they are actually heavenly bodies, they're not in the sky. But what if the stars were all actually in the sky? How would that affect the world? What if the world is actually flat? And not just that, I'm not just saying keep one of the olden superstitions. I'm saying, what if you change the fundamentals of physics so completely that the world becomes a new experience? Just not the story, not the characters, but the world, the universe becomes a new experience. Let me give you a few more examples just to clarify. So firstly, you have control as a GM over the fundamental forces of the universe, the rules, what people in real life spend lives trying to figure it out and piece it together so it makes sense. You can make it up and see how it fits. So what if how it fits is that, for example, the world I intend to use this for, I'm going to use pretty much every single one of these that I can think of, so I'm going to give you as many examples as I can. What if there's air in outer space instead of vacuum? What if planets are actually on the backs of giant monsters? They don't have to be turtles. I just have a turtle thing going on, but what if planets are on their backs? What if they're not even planets? What if they are continents and islands? What if gravity doesn't come from planets? What if it comes from a specific direction in the universe? It could be like a compass for outer space, although there wouldn't actually be outer space. Or I guess, would you still consider that outer space? Anyway, go back to the old misconceptions about the world. Go back to the instincts. How would you look at the world if you didn't know any better? If you didn't know how it works because of thousands of years of people theorizing it and trying to figure things out, experiments and all that. How would you look at the world if no one told you any of that? Would you still think the world is flat? Have the world be flat? Would you think it's carried on the backs of four giants? I can't remember what they were called. So to further the concept here, what if suns are tiny balls of light that revolve around planets instead of being like giant, super heated fucking helium bombs? It doesn't have to make sense because magic. Here's the thing. Are you familiar with chaos theory? What if there's a world where at the start beings or forces are present that weren't present in our universe, how would they influence the whole universe, the development, the fundamental rules, the system? How would they influence reality? Another example would be black holes. Now, we know that black holes could potentially be portals through space-time, or not, or they could just be death machines. It really depends how you look at it, and we'll probably never ever find out. But in any case, what if black holes are actually just portals? What if they swallow matter and send it to another dimension? And you can see black holes because the ether, what was theorized that you can see light through because of whatever. What if that exists and it channels magic and actually channels light as well? What if there are creatures that can push away the ether and they are permanently invisible? I mean, think of all the possibilities. Now, I started with the misconceptions that we've had throughout human history, but there are so many more things that you can build on that. For now, let's give some more examples. What if there's an actual place, a physical place where the gods are? It doesn't have to be Olympus, doesn't have to be like an actual like part of the world. It can be clouds. Clouds could be the equivalent of these islands floating through space, but for gods, because I mean they're gods, they can probably walk on anything. And what if gods use clouds as their own sort of world, like Jack and the Beanstalk? What if you add new colors? Because fuck it, why not? Magic will be the answer to most things when you want to make a cool fantasy world. Don't be constricted by the preconceptions of making a world that makes sense and making a world that has realistic physics. Make a world that has whatever kind of physics you want. Make a world that's inside of a giant crab and the whole universe is a giant crab. And maybe it's moving around and fighting another universe. Make a universe where there are no other dimensions, like nothing within the same space and time, or nothing within the same space and different times. Actually, other dimensions being in the same space but at different times would be a fucking cool idea for a universe. But anyway, what if you make dimensions actually in the same space but just micro? Like whenever you travel to, let's say, the astral plane is actually like the most macro plane that there is. Like you're all within the astral plane, and inside one of these creatures, like your planet is an atom in its body or something. I'm sure everyone's thought about this kind of stuff once in their life, and at some point you either realize it's ridiculous or that it could be a possibility, or you just don't care. But in any case, why not make it a possibility? Why not make it a plot device? Can you imagine a universe that has different physics? It's the possibilities are incredible, and I've never seen anything like it. I've only seen glimpses, like here and there, some dimension or another has a couple of cool things. Some worlds that people make have like one twist or maybe two, but they're not that big. Influence the world with magic. It's a world that has a force, a fundamental force in the universe that is not accountable. You don't know why it works. You can know how it works. As a GM, you've probably decided you can explain it to the players, but you don't know why it exists. I mean, maybe gods give magic, maybe magic is just an energy, but why does it work the way it does? What do we call magic? We call things that we can't explain magic, things that don't make sense. So make a universe that doesn't make sense. That's the whole idea. Whatever you can think of that you think is cool and it doesn't make sense, it's perfect. Just use it as long as it's cool. You know what I mean? By the way, another idea. Time could be a really strong factor. Instead of a simple abstract dimension in our minds to make life easier, why not have some planets run slower and even fall slower if you're making the kind of universe where everything is falling in the same direction? What if some beings can think so quickly and move so quickly that they're never noticed? What would happen if someone could observe them? Like if you had scientists in this universe that could use magic to learn about the universe instead of just technology, and they could observe all of these strange and new forces. What if they could observe these incredibly fast beings? How would those creatures influence the universe? Maybe they're so fast they can defy gravity or even entropy. Maybe they are entropy and can be influenced like an actual society. Like talking to heat through your god or something. I'm not even gonna suggest having like tiny people in radios and TVs because that sounds practically useless to a GM, but you get what I mean. Like, start from the misconceptions about our universe. There's so much you can do if you just make a universe that doesn't make sense. Now I'm off to make a universe that has all of these concepts. I'll see you around.